writing. It's really just been a painful season, and that really is what I'm reflecting on. And this post is just going to be another raw reflection on this journey of infertility, because really that has been so all-consuming in my life for the last 18 months. I have written here, just as the intro, the story that my life has sung of late is one of secret tears, holding the tension of celebrating joy while eclipsed by pain. My heart has sung harmonies of sorrow. And it's really hard to put into words how downcast I've been, how sorrowful I've been. I haven't been able to write, I haven't been able to record, and I'm still quite downtrodden, but I'm able to at least start to process and talk about it now. But in those deep moments of darkness, there's no way that I would be able to share, and I'm just not in a position to. I've been incredibly emotionally grieved, and it's just a mixture of the hormones, but it's also heaviness and the weightiness of this. It's really, infertility feels like a failure. It feels like a betrayal of your body. And that kind of brings me to this post, which is exploring that betrayal that it feels like from God. It has felt like God has abandoned me, that he hasn't heard my prayer or the deep desires of my heart. And I know that there can be other seasons of life where we can be waiting on God and just feels like he doesn't hear us. And so I wanted to share, I wanted to write, even though I feel like I don't have much hope and much goodness to write about right now. I know it's important to write even in the middle of a struggle and even in the middle of something. And I honestly don't see an ending to this, which is really hard and really painful. But I was listening to a podcast the other day, which I loved, that said that suffering has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I think I'm really in the middle, which is that hard place of you want it to end, but you just have to stay and hope and know that there will be an end to suffering. And it's one of those questions of, to what degree will we actually see the end of suffering in this world? Because it's only when we see in Revelation the mention of the new creation that we do actually have that promise or that hope that there will be an end to suffering. And so it's really scary, if you dwell on it too much like I have been, to actually consider the reality that we might not actually see an end to suffering in our lives. But that said, there are still definitely seasons of suffering and different types of suffering for different seasons. And it's not like suffering or a theology of suffering is all bad. Suffering really shapes and changes how we are, and God does put us through trials and tribulations, but for strengthening and the testing of our faith. And so it's sometimes hard to see, where is God in the midst of the trials and tribulations? Where is God in the suffering? And is this from him, or is this of the enemy? That is really stuff I've been struggling with a lot. And I've actually decided to split what I'm going to explore today into two posts. One is going to be looking more at that theology of suffering, and the one today is going to be looking at something that I've discovered in myself. And it is that I have this deep fear of abandonment. And so that's what I want to explore today. Yesterday, and I'll include some of the footage. It was just a beautiful day, and there's some lovely lakes and nature in the area that we're in. I was listening to a podcast, and I really felt that God led me to this podcast. In the moment, I didn't feel like listening to a sermon. I usually listen to a sermon. I felt like listening to a podcast, but it had been so long since I'd listened to a podcast. I honestly haven't been in a place where not only can I not write, but I haven't wanted to consume, I haven't wanted to listen to what I used to listen to, which is just podcasts. There truly was a point where I would listen to about 3 podcasts a day, and I have listened to none for weeks because I'm not in a place where I feel like I'm able to receive. And yesterday I really felt the call to listen to a podcast, but I knew it needed to be something a bit more digestible and something that wasn't going to be overwhelming or too heavy just because of how heavy I've already been feeling. And I actually went to the podcast that talked about suffering having a beginning, middle, and end, and it was a podcast from the Whoa, That's Good podcast by Sadie Robb Huff. And I think she was on maternity leave potentially when this particular podcast was recorded, because it was her mum, Corey, who was leading it, with Beth Redman, who is Matt Redman's wife, as the guest speaker. And I just randomly clicked on this, not really knowing the nature of the conversation, but it truly ministered to me and where I was at and what I needed to hear yesterday. There was one particular quote that Beth said that just hit close to home. She said, "Where are you, God? I'm going to trust you, even when I don't understand." And that is the echo of my heart right now. It is the question I have just been asking God: where are you, and why are you keeping me here, and what are you doing, and why aren't you intervening? And there's just been so many questions about, I guess, his presence, really, if I think about it. And the fact that she's just answered her own question by saying, "I'm going to trust you even when I don't understand." And that truly echoes the scriptures in the Proverbs when it says to lean not on your own understanding. There's been a few moments this week where I have tried to just capture what's been going on for me, what I've been thinking, what I've been feeling. Let's be honest, a lot of it has been what I've been feeling, but I had wanted to try and write again. And so this post is probably going to be a little bit fragmented because I have just been pulling together multiple points in the week where I've been trying to express myself. And so it's really hard to force writing. It truly has to be organic. It has to be from the heart. And so what I've just been trying to do is just gently nudge my heart to open up and to try and sift through what I'm feeling and pinpoint those emotions, because when you're in that darkness and when you're in that pit of despair, you aren't sure if you're confused, if you're misunderstood, if you're abandoned, if you're hurt, if you're sad, if you're depressed, if you're anxious. Like, there's just this convoluted mess really within, and that's what I've been stuck in. It truly is the miry straits, and it is a window into Sheol, because it is in those places where we feel abandoned, when we feel alone, that it's a taste of hell, because hell is that eternal separation from God. It is actual abandonment from God. And while I'm here fearing that, that's not my reality, because the Spirit of God is alive. He is the living God, and He has made His home in me. I am the temple of the living God. The veil was torn in two, and we have that access. We have that relational means to come to Him. And so He is not distant. He is not abandoning us. He has adopted us. He has welcomed us. He has invited us. He has redeemed us and restored us and renewed us to His kingdom, to His family, that we might live with Him forevermore, that we might have eternal relationship and have an eternal union with Him. That is communion. And eternal separation, hell, I can't even begin to imagine what that would be like. I feel like I have inflicted on myself that feeling of separation and abandonment from God, because I've just been so avoidant and afraid, and I've tried to ignore what He might be saying or what He might be doing, because I don't want to believe that He is in the suffering, and I don't want to believe that He could have intervened in my suffering and prevented this, but that He's allowed it. It's really, really messy. It's really, really tricky to navigate all of this. But all of this to say is, you will see me. I intellectually and I mentally know that God has not abandoned me. Yet, I have felt like He has. And emotionally, spiritually, it has felt really, really hard. I felt really alone. And I only put two and two together this week, that I did feel this way, that I felt like God had abandoned me. And I think it's because when you are sitting on this unanswered prayer for so long, it doesn't feel like He's there, and that He's listening, and that He's across the table from you, hearing you, supporting you, empathizing with you. Like, it's really just hard to reconcile that He is a God who is Emmanuel. He is with us. The Spirit is our comforter. Yet I haven't felt that comfort. And so it's been really hard. And to what extent is it that God's just waiting for me to draw near and to turn to Him and to stop ignoring and avoiding Him? And I think that's the conclusion that I came to this week was I haven't been giving God the opportunity to minister to me because I've just been so afraid. And I've just put up this fortress and this wall to try and keep myself safe and to try and hold things together. But I'm not doing a very good job and it's falling apart. And it's just really hard. For a while, I have felt as though he has abandoned me. And it's a lie, it's a fear that has just crept in, and it's been so sneaky. And so I don't know if I'm going to be able to even directly talk about it in this post because it wasn't a conscious thing. But what I'm going to try and do is just share these raw reflections and then weave into that how I was able to recognize at the root of that was that fear. And of course, fears need to be replaced with truth. And so that's what I'm going to do. And we'll just see how I can pull it all together. All of this is just evidence that our feelings are not good gods to follow because they are just so topsy-turvy with life's circumstances. And this is where contentment is truly not attached to our emotions. It's not attached to our feelings. Contentment is something that is on a different playing field to our emotional state. And being content in God, no matter the season, as Paul talks about, it's not easy. And it's definitely something I want to grow in. You will notice that I have some beautiful sunflowers here from my husband, which is really lovely because it has truly been such a painful week. As you've seen, I've cried already. I honestly have just cried at the drop of a hat. Like, I don't even know where that saying came from. But it's been like very easy for me to just break down. I've been very fragile. Seeing a pregnancy announcement, seeing a baby born, seeing beautiful children at church, like anything would just make me bawl because just of that grief and just that really painful mix of emotions. But my husband wanted to remind me of just the sunshine and the joy in life. The sun has literally just gone behind the clouds, but we had a rainy week here, and so the sunshine had finally come out and it had reminded him of sunflowers, and he said that he just wanted to bring sunshine to my life. I think flowers are just so powerful because words will never do justice, and it's sometimes a gesture like this that is just showing how much someone loves and cares for you. And this is just evidence that my husband really has seen me in my pain in this last week and for the last 18 months. Editing, what I realized is that the fragments I've written this week all have a lot of overlaps. It means that for the purposes of editing this post, it's not as easy as just pulling them and stitching them together. It actually means having to completely rewrite it so that I don't have duplication, because it turns out all of these reflections have really been just directing me towards the same heart posture, same heart position, which is the journey that this post is all about. As always, I want to make sure these raw reflections really are a journey, and I want to show you how I move from that place of darkness to a place where I can declare the goodness of God. It's not an immediate, yeah, God is good. It's a let me train my heart and remind my heart of God's goodness and of who he is. It's a case of identifying those lies and then replacing them with truth. So while this post holds a lot of grief and anger and darkness, what I want to move towards is God's goodness and how he is present and how he isn't an absent God. And one of the key journeys that I'm taking you through in this post is, again, similar to the previous post that I did, which was Help My Unbelief. That was when I trawled through the Gospels searching for a particular verse, and I brought you along the journey of what God revealed to me through that journey of discovery. This post is similar in that earlier this week, I just flicked to the book of Proverbs and I was just reading through and reflecting on that. And so in this post, I'm taking you on the journey of me reading the Proverbs and just some of the key verses that really ministered to me in my particular season. And I hope that in me showing you this will encourage you in your faith, in that you, in your hour of need, will turn to God's word and turn to his truth and allow his word to speak life to your being, to speak light to your darkness. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this is a very dark post. I have just continued going through it and oh my goodness, it was really written in a place of complete darkness and desolation. I don't want to edit out the despair and the darkness. It's important to show this because I'm sure I'm not alone in this level of despair and darkness. But that level of darkness is not what God wants for us. That is what the enemy wants us to experience, because he wants us to experience the eternal separation, the full darkness of life without God. That is what the enemy wants. And that's why darkness and suffering can either show us God's light and his goodness, or it can lead us to fall prey to the enemy's schemes and tactics and the powers and principalities that are at play, waging war. Light and dark are waging war, and they want our heart, they want our minds. And I think there is a very real battle of light and darkness. And something that I was brought up believing is that it's not just God who has a plan for our lives. Darkness has a plan too. And so when we see these episodes and seasons of darkness, we have to be seeking God in that. We have to be turning to God and saying, God, I want your plans for me to prevail. I want your plan and purpose for my life. I want to hold on to you and your promises and who you have called me to be. I want to stand firm in the identity that you have given me. I am adopted, I am loved, I am yours, I am chosen. That's where I want to be. I don't want darkness to claim me. I don't want to be eternally separated from you. I want to come to you. I want to be with you. I want to serve you. I want to love you. I want to glorify you. That's where we need to move to. So far, I can see in my post that I haven't really done that very well, but I'll get there. Hi friends, it is several days later. It's the end of another work week, and so this week unfortunately I had no brain space, no capacity to look at this post. Thankfully it has been a much lighter week, not as heavy on the emotional front, although that said it's been very chaotic on the emotional front. I think last week I was really in the pits of despair and I was truly so down and just my soul was downcast. This week I am really choosing joy and I'm wanting to pursue joy and really wanting to understand what does it mean to find my joy in the Lord and for him to be my strength and my song. This week though has brought a lot of the manifestation of my fears. It has really been, unfortunately, a lot of the really scary things that I most fear being actualized, and that's been terrifying. My anxiety has been all over the place, and so it's been a real training ground for practicing some of what I was being taught by God in this journey, to not lean on my own understanding, because all of the facts presented to me, all of the symptoms that are just manifesting in my body right now, if I even just began to tell you, you would feel so overwhelmed. And I have truly just been so overwhelmed with just how many overlapping things are going on right now. But this is where I do not know what is truly going on, and the doctors also don't know what's going on right now with all of these overlapping symptoms. There's potentially many things going wrong at once, which is why I'm having all these issues. But what I'm having to just lean on is knowing that God knows. God knows when I don't know. God knows when the doctors don't know. And I just have to trust him. I have to trust that if for whatever reason I was not meant to have this surgery, that he will make that abundantly clear. He would intervene and prevent them from operating. I just have to trust God, that he knows and that he is holding me in the palm of his hand. And so I'm going to be returning to the post this weekend. I don't think I'll have any space to add any more reflections, so it really will just be a editing stage, but so this morning I have finished the post. I was just doing a final run through and edit and put the photos in, and I'm happy with it now. What I will say is I ended up changing the title. So I originally thought the title was Fear of Abandonment. As I said earlier in this vlog though, I didn't realize myself at first that I had this underlying fear. And so a lot of this was written from a place of not explicitly knowing that myself, but when you read it, you will see that that was what was underneath. So I only really addressed it at the end of the post that was the underlying fear, and so it felt wrong to label the entire post that topic. Also because I've realized there's so much more that I want to say about the fear of abandonment from both the physical and the spiritual lens, so I'm going to reserve that title for a future blog. That technically makes 3 blogs from this blog. So this one is the Season of Darkness. That's what I've landed on as the title. It's just reflective of the dark place I was in. Season of Darkness. The other one I mentioned was I want to do one on the theology of suffering, and now I have one on the fear of abandonment. So it's going to be a little bit of a series. It's all really born from this place of the season I'm in right now, and so I'm excited to have identified all that. This is all for your benefit as well, because I don't want to just cram in everything into one post. I want to do justice to each topic and each angle individually, and of course I always do write a lot, but I really do try to make it as direct and applicable and relevant as possible. When I do identify things where I've perhaps gone on a tangent, or perhaps it doesn't need to be in this post, I do take it out. And so this morning I actually did that. I started to take out some that I've earmarked for that future blog on the fear of abandonment. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully I'll be able to write that in coming months. I'm currently sitting on 21-minute read time. And what I did last night, which I didn't actually speak about, was I found a few more scriptures to just tie up the ending. And I think I'm pretty much ready to go. So I hope you enjoy this vlog and this blog. And as always, stay tuned for more on Abundance of Lovely soon. And hopefully we'll be moving into more of the pursuit of joy in coming blogs, because that truly is what my heart's yearning for as well. Like, I don't want to stay in this place of darkness. I really want to understand how to find joy in the midst of suffering. So let's see how I can do that.